Let me know when you think it's going.
It is.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. My name is Patsy Ferguson. I am the editor-in-chief and publisher of Fourth Wave, and we are sponsoring this event. And today we're going to talk about rape, about the changing definition of rape. What is rape? And I would like to start by asking everyone to introduce themselves. So please tell us who you are and where you're calling from.
Hello, my name is Uwanah. I'm calling from Nigeria. I'm an editor at Sportswave.
Welcome.
Hello, my name is Muniba and I am from Pakistan, and I am principal editor of Fourth Wave. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sangeeta. I am an Indian living in Italy, and I'm a contributor to Fourth Wave.
So glad you all could make it. This is kind of a tough topic, and I'm glad my housemate isn't here because I get embarrassed talking about it. But what inspired this, a couple of things. The Giselle Pellicot case, where a woman in France was raped repeatedly by men her husband lined up to rape her. Hello, dummy. We're glad you're here. Can you show your face, unmute, and introduce yourself, if you don't mind? For me, it displayed better the other direction. Yeah, that way. I don't know why, because it'd be great if you could take up the whole square, but we don't want you to be sideways. So
I
we're
wonder
so
if anyone else is having, because my screen is frozen, like nobody's moving.
oh
Oh,
well, I can see Dami Lola, but she's kind of coming and going. So maybe I'll continue till she gets permanently on. So there was that case, and so anyway, let me start by telling a story. When I was in high school, I went to visit my sister in college, and she had a friend who had like a camper van, which is a little space that you can get into over a truck. And so I got in there with him thinking that we were going to be kissing, and he raped me. And I didn't understand at the time that I was raped because we didn't have the term date rape. I had never thought of it as someone you're in the midst of kissing could then rape you. I mean, I had a completely different idea about rape. And I didn't even blame this man, even though I tried very hard to push him off, and I was a strong young woman. And I also was told him to stop, but he didn't. And afterwards, I dated him, because I was so mixed up about what had happened, and so that's an embarrassment to me. But it wasn't until much later that I understood that he raped me. And that was with the advent of this discussion about consent. Um, and nowadays, we talk about you need consent in order to have sex with someone. And now that that's the narrative, it becomes so obvious to me that that's correct and ethically correct. But I wanted to just open with that and see if you have any thoughts about my experience or any experiences of your own that you would like to share. But before we do that, I want to ask Dami, phone the other way because your appearance, does she appear sideways to everyone? Does
Yeah.
she?
Yeah, to me, yeah.
Yeah, so we need you. Yeah, I guess we need you. And maybe offline, Uwanah can show you how she does it because she's got hers sideways but filling the screen. But will you also unmute Dami Lola and introduce yourself and tell us where you're calling from?
Hi everyone, I'm Damilola from Nigeria. So is it better now?
Yes, perfect. We are straight. I can see
All right.
you.
Mhm.
And so hopefully you heard the opening
All right.
and if you'd like to speak now, you can, or you can wait, however, on the topic.
Yes, I get the topic. You said you were it was asking what is rape, yes. So I think you are trying to know what experiences would be considered as rape. Is it the one that has your consent in, or somebody that is your boyfriend that had sex with you even if you don't want to? But from the story you just shared now, I'm curious. I'm curious. The person, was he your boyfriend at that time? Or did you tell him you didn't want to and he forcefully did it? Because I was surprised you didn't realize it was rape then until now.
Yeah, well, okay. First off, this was like 50 years ago. So our idea of rape was even more than 50. Our idea of rape was that some stranger would grab you and maybe hold a gun to your head or something. So we didn't have the idea that you could be raped while on a date. No, he was not my boyfriend. He was someone I was thinking about making into my boyfriend, but I was just planning to kiss him, which was allowable in my culture. I was not planning to have sex with him, and he had other plans, and I didn't even hold it against him because we had the narrative, we were told men have these uncontrollable urges and they cannot stop. And if you get yourself in that situation, it's your fault because you stimulated them. And he holds no responsibility for what happens. So that's what I thought. Oh, I'm just too sexy for my body, you know? And somehow I felt almost flattered by it, even though on a deeper level, I was very much harmed and hurt. So that's my answer.
All right, I guess where you are coming from now. I get, but what if, I don't know if my question is getting too much anyway. But what if eventually you dated the person, you get married to the person, and you're just realizing now, are you still going to forgive him for what he did then? Do you get what I
Well,
said, Pat?
I could hear part of it cut out, but honestly, I wouldn't. I don't know. I probably wouldn't blame him because he had the same idea I had. You know, we were in the same culture that told us this was okay. But we're learning otherwise, thank goodness, because really the underlying message in that view is that women are here for men's pleasure. They're not individuals with human rights of our own and a right to decide who touches our body, who enters our body. So that's a big problem,
Yeah.
that point of view. But we both had it at the time. So I don't know if he's changed. I'm not in touch with him.
Okay. That's fine. Let's continue having the conversation.
Okay.
I don't know if we can. I cannot remember the question, but I come from a culture where rape is very much downplayed. And over here, I don't know if you do it, but in the past, when a woman gets raped by a man, They still do it. It's not one, I don't know. They still do it. Um, he is forced to get married to her because he defiled her. So, like, that's the kind of culture I come from. And they find every reason to blame the woman for the situation. I think I've shared this story on here before. I had this friend when we were in university, and she went to a male classmate's house and he raped her. So when we got to the police station, they asked very ridiculous questions, like, you went to his house, yeah? Were you a
Definitely.
virgin? What does this have to do with? It's like, okay, we're not a virgin. How was it rape? Like, I've done it before, so how is it rape? So it's very much downplayed even by the law. I think as at last year, I think over the past 10 years, I've had less than 100 convictions. Like, they do not take rape seriously at all in this country. And like Patsy said, like the idea of rape, or like what is rape, has evolved so much over the years. And I watched a video recently where it was like a man and his girlfriend, was like a skit, like they were acting, where he wanted to have sex with her. And she said no, that she's tired. And then he convinced her and she gave in. And apparently that was rape. I never knew that. But also being compelled to have sex when you do not want to, like, you say no, and then this person is trying to convince you, and then you until you give in, that is also rape. So yeah, the definition of rape and what constitutes as rape has definitely evolved over the years as we, I guess, learn more.
Thank you. That's a really interesting point and story. And thanks for sharing that.
Okay.
The recent sorry Muni, there's
No,
a
no,
recent
please go ahead.
happening there's a recent happening with my neighbor. I think that was just in January.
Ah, Dami, you froze, unfortunately. We'll come back to you when your network reconnects.
However, the
Oh,
mother guy with the girl in their bedroom, she caught the two of them sleeping together with each other. Then she went to report the boy in the police station. So instead of the police to take up the law with the guy for doing such thing, the table turned and the mother was blamed. That, oh, you know the boy, he has been coming to your house, he has been giving you gifts, you know he's dating your daughter, so why are you now reporting him as a rape? Like, it was just a crazy scene for real. It's warrants. The woman was taken to the prison. She spent like 2 weeks there because they actually accused her of
That
child abuse. I'm telling
I
you,
don't
they
know if
accused.
case where the man and his son were raping this little girl. She was 8 at the time. The rape she was 13, and she died as a result of like damages and all of that. And when it got to the law, like when the case was reported, it was the wife that was arrested. So they always try to turn it to blame the woman in
Yes,
kind of way.
never be it never
It
be the
can never
male
be.
at
Yeah.
fault. They accuse the woman of child abuse, that she has been collecting gifts from the boy for her child that is not of legal age. That is why the boy has access to come to their house to even sleep with the girl in her house. So it's a crazy thing for you. That's how crazy the rape scene is in Nigeria over here. So that's it.
well, I was reminded when Uwanah spoke of someone convincing you to have sex. There was an article in Babe magazine about a woman who dated Aziz Ansari, who's in the movies, and she described something like that. And then there was a very big debate about, oh, did he do anything wrong? Because also, I mean, in my youth, which was 50 years, well, 60 years ago, the movies glorified the men pursuing. The woman go, no, no, no. And then she goes, yes. And that was like a common plot in romance movies where the woman is resisting and then finally stops resisting. And that is the opposite of what we're learning now, that women have the right to resist and men should respect the no and wait for them. It's that pressure is a problem, and it's not manly to pressure, right? But Mooney, what were you going to say? Sorry. And
Okay, so in my culture, it is like same. You cannot say no to men. Your husband, of course. You can say no to your husband. Because now I am 5.5 month postpartum. So in start when I was on like 2 month postpartum, so I was very like, it was many things going on, and one of my cousin who is also like, she's with age, and she said, oh, now you have green signals to have sex again. So, and I said, I don't want to now. It's 2 months, but I don't want to. My body gone through many things. And she was like, what are you saying? Your husband is going to marry someone else. I said, why? He can wait for me. But she said, no, what are you saying? Go and I said, no, I don't want to. Like, this is, I think, mentality of women, that if your boyfriend or your husband is saying that come and have sex with me, and you have to say okay, yes. And on Patsy, your story, I want to say that recently I wrote an article on this, that say there was a TikTok trend where women film their pets, often dogs or cats, staring at their favorite treat, and there was all that. Like pet were seeing their treat, and they were very intrigued by this, and when she said yes or okay, then animal eat their treat. So if if pet can, if an angry animal can understand the meaning of no and
So why
wait for approval, why can't man who claimed she provoked me, or she was too good, or she was wearing this and she was in my van, or she was anything, when she said no, no is full sentence. No means no. It is full sentence, and this and not only on start, not only when she said no in start, when she said yes start, and in middle she said no, it means no. It is something. No means it is full sentence, and people have to understand this. Man should have understand this. Thank you.
thank you.
so
Sangeeta?
if we go by what we are learning now, everyone who is sexually active or married would have undergone rape once or twice. But there would be a day you would say no, you don't feel like you're after still rape. There will be sometimes you visit your boyfriend, you say, well, I've missed you, I want to have you, and he has to force you to do that. Is still rape. So a lot of things is going on. I think everybody needs to be aware of the new definition of things so they can be able to differentiate between rape and consent. So that's very, very key. That's key.
All right. So as actually that's a very good point from Dami as well, that In a way, you can say these are new things, but it's not really new, is it? We all know in our bodies when it's a no. Sometimes you can't even find a way to express that no. You might say no, and then your mouth is covered. And now what? Now he's going to argue that you didn't say no? Like it has to be enthusiastic consent, not in duress. That is supposed to be the definition. And I feel like trying to define rape is a very interesting thing. And I'll come back to why it's so interesting because I was very fascinated by all the things that everybody said about their culture because just like Uwanah said that when it comes to being a rape victim, you might have to marry your rapist, but it's almost said like, oh, the rapist is forced to marry her because, you have to make her an honest woman.
Hmm.
This is actually a thing that happened in Italy too, and in India. This is a thing that's a part of our cultures as well. And it's very interesting because if you see a lot of the 50s interviews of Italian women, Sicilian women specifically, let's not say Italian, um, they often say, I would rather die than marry him. Why would you reward him with my life, with my potential for doing something wrong? And this is something that we have these women called the Gulab Gang in India who fight for women's rights. And also, they will, if they know that there is a rapist in a village, they will gather around and give him civil justice, let's put it that way. And it's kind of a slippery slope because even though such gangs exist, they're able to exist because there's also a certain level of, what can I say, corruption, I guess. We have corrupt governments and we have, like, there is a level of favoritism. If with that, you also have a culture where if you are not desirable, you are not allowed to be a victim in peace, if that makes sense. There is no peace for you. And the same thing, you're not allowed to just be a perpetrator. A lot of our ministers have made open conversation about how they don't think that rape is the rapist's fault. What was she wearing? What was she doing? This is a part of our culture. You're supposed to have sex because marital rape is not even rape in my country. So this is how it goes. You get raped by this man, you have to marry him, and then he can rape you for the rest of your life, and it's not illegal in my country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's a slippery slope when we say that something is rape in certain circumstances and it's not rape in other circumstances. Where do you stop? From my perspective, and I think Patsy and I had a very interesting, I guess heated discussion about this. I really want to say last year.
Sounds right.
Yeah, when we were first talking about the topic. And coercion, like you said, like someone who consistently keeps asking you to have sex with them and then you give in. So coercion is a kind of rape. From a lot of the stories, including like talking to Patsy and hearing from everybody else, one thing that I kind of take away is people don't have a problem with rape. I think people have a problem with being called a rapist. Because every time I see our ministers, every time I see any kind of news report, even when there was the big Palermo rape case in the south of Italy here last year again, this was 8 or 9 boys, some of them were minors, who decided to, because a girl said no at a club, to, you know, enlist the what's it called, the bartender, to roofie her drink. And then she left and she was raped, gang raped. A lot of the media, a lot of even the family members of these boys were not blaming the boys. Because why did she go to a club? Yes, it's wrong to have sex like animals. That's one of the quotes from one of the mothers that I'm just paraphrasing in English. She said, yes, it's bad to have sex in a group like animals, but she should have not gone out if she didn't want to entice the boys. The problem she has is not about causing problems to the victim. She doesn't care that there's a victim, that someone was hurt, someone ended up in the hospital. She doesn't care. What does she care about? My son cannot be a rapist. And I hate the fact that it's not just the women, of course, it's men, it's everyone. That person cannot be a rapist. It's more important. Even when I told someone who assaulted me that what they did was assault, what they did was rape. Sorry. His problem was not the problems that it caused me after. It was not about my health. How did I feel? Did I go to the doctor after? What did I do with it? Because I was disabled when this happened. And so I was in no position to consent anyway. All he cared about was I called him a rapist. I respect you. I would never do that. But you did. But I told you you did. At that time, I was telling you that's what you're doing, and you didn't care. Yeah, I think more than just talking about what is rape, yes, it is a lack of enthusiastic consent, not under duress. What is a rapist? When are we allowed to finally call a rapist without backlash, without being told we're wrong, without being insulted in court, without being basically having our dignity in tatters for just being a victim? When are we allowed to be emancipated? When are we allowed to have the shame shift to the person who did it? That's my 2 cents basically. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, our interaction also inspired me to choose this topic because I think it's so important and it's so kind of basic to women's rights to see that women have a right and it should be automatic and it should be, no one should ever question that you have a right to say, no, don't come in here. I don't want you in here in my body. It's my body. And as you were speaking, I was reminded of we had a case. There was a Stanford athlete, a swimmer, Stanford's very well respected college. And he went to a party and he saw this woman passed out outside. She was drunk. And, we have a culture where that happens. Women, everybody gets drunk and passes out. Not everyone passes out, but anyway, it happens, especially in college. And he just started raping her. And nobody stopped him until some students from another country, I think from a Scandinavian country, were bicycling by and they saw that he was raping what appeared to be like a dead body. And they stopped him. And when he went to trial, the judge gave him a ridiculously small, short sentence and said he didn't want to ruin his potential as a swimmer, as a future athlete. He didn't want to mess up his life because he made this small mistake. And meanwhile, the victim and that judge got recalled. People were so mad about that. They kicked him out of his office. But the woman wrote a victim statement, and it really, she talked about getting ready for the party, she read it out loud, and it really shifted the blame, and you really felt the empathy for this woman. She didn't go there saying, oh, I hope I get raped, or even I hope I get drunk. She was dressing up, she wanted to have a good time. And I don't know, it was a very powerful victim statement. And it reminded me of what you were saying, Sangeeta. And I was guilty at the time. This was just last year. Sangeeta turned in a story where she called the man a rapist, and I was like, "Are you sure you want to call him a rapist?" I was having that exact same response because of that word. We're afraid of it, but we need to understand it. The reason we're afraid of it is we're protecting men. We're so concerned about protecting men and not about protecting the victim and women. And the same thing happened to me when I watched a British series called I May Destroy You by Michaela Cole. And in that series, she's having sex with a man. He's behind her, and he takes his condom off. And she doesn't know he's done that. And then they finish. And later she gets up and calls him a rapist and says he raped her. And I was thinking, was that rape? I didn't think that was rape, you know? But then when I really sat down and considered, is exposing a woman to the risk of being pregnant a violation without her consent, a risk of possibly ruining her life, making her choose between abortion or poverty or illegitimacy or whatever, yes, that was wrong. And if doing anything without your partner's consent is rape, if you're penetrating them, I guess that's the definition, that is a rape then, because he's doing something she's unaware of, and that puts her at great risk, and she didn't consent to. So that's what I was thinking. What do you think of that?
Actually, can I say something about that?
Yes.
So it does have a name. I believe it's stealthing, which is
Yeah, so
yes, it's removing the condom during sex. But I found it very interesting what you said. So you mentioned penetration. You don't need to be penetrated to be raped. And for example, some people who have been raped have even had orgasms during their rape. Your body will do strange things. Some people in my country, for example, would even argue, did she get wet? That is something that you get asked at court. Of course, it's a way to humiliate you as the victim, but it's essentially to say, oh, maybe you enjoyed it, so is it really rape? It's a way, it's just, there's a lot of gaslighting when it comes to that. Someone can digitally penetrate you, for example. So it doesn't have to be penetration with a penis, it can be with your fingers. Someone cannot penetrate you at all. They can instead touch parts of you and force you to do things to them instead. Say oral rape is a type of rape, which technically you're not penetrating the vagina. You might not even touch the vulva at all. It's directly penetration of the mouth. Sometimes it's not even that. A hand job where there is no penetration, forcing someone to jack you off, for lack of a better term. I'm sorry for this. To get you off that way, when you don't want to do it, that's rape too, and there's no penetration at all. So it gets so narrow when we start to talk about how it looks, and then unfortunately a lot of these things sound sex adjacent, but it brings up a very interesting notion because a lot of the time in my country, maybe it's not the same for you guys, and you will tell me right after this. In my country, a lot of men say that this is what happens to a woman, like rape is what happens to a woman as a consequence of being a modern woman, a feminist, attractive, dressing a certain way, being a certain way, this is what happens. They see it as punishment. But if you are going to argue that rape is sex, then you have a new topic, which is, do men see sex as punishment as well? And then you get into a whole nother pipeline for that from there. Because if we say, oh, you're ruining his life over a mistake that he made, or she deserved to be punished, when does why is the line so blurred? And do we just see this one physical act as just a physical act? Or do we see this as a cultural commentary? Do we see this as a way to keep women down?
Thank you. That's a lot to think about. And
So
please go ahead. Go ahead, Dami.
yes, I'm going to agree that most times men use rape as forms of punishment. In Nigeria, most times when they ask you out to be their girlfriend and you don't succumb, you don't agree to that, they tend to use rape to punish you. Oh, you don't want to date me, you want to date somebody else, then I'm going to deal with you. And I'll see what will be left of you. They tend to use it as punishment. But being the feminist angle or something like that, I don't think our men are that knowledgeable to let me say they don't really care about that. They tend to use it to punish for not agreeing to their own things, or you left them alone to meet someone else. So that's the way it is from my own point of view. But I don't know about Uwanah's.
How about you, Uwanah?
That if they use rape as punishment, yeah, definitely. And honestly, like I found myself recently questioning if okay, maybe it's not that serious because they really play rape a lot in this country and it starts messing with your head and you start thinking, okay, maybe it's not that serious. Like maybe she's exaggerating. Okay, because the conversations we have online, like anytime any rape thing comes up, it's always the first reaction is to downplay. The first reaction is to basically prove that she's lying. Recently, we had this case, and she was lying, but at the same time, I was like, why was that our first? This very young girl, she's I think 16 or 17 years old. She's going through a lot mentally, and she recently came out with a story. Like she made up a whole story about how she was like somebody burst into her house and raped her. And she said she claimed it was somebody that was like Dami said, like when a man asks you out over here and you refuse, especially if you refuse in a rude way, they could try to rape you to teach you a lesson. So the guy had asked her out and she refused. So she said he came into her house, he raped her, and then he sent her a text afterwards saying that he did this. And she did not want to put a name or a face to this person. But the first reaction from everybody was like, huh, like this seems it. Like it was just they were trying to prove that she's lying. And I did not get it. Like, why are we trying to prove so much that she's lying? Like we've no one known at this point if she's lying or not. But the first reaction is always to try to prove if this person is lying. So it's like it's really downplayed. I remember when I was still in the university, when I was in a different state, and over here in Nigeria, I don't know about other countries, one of our means of transportation is bikes, and we call them Okada over here. And in the area I was staying around the school, because once I get down from the bus, I have to take a bike to my house because it was quite a distance. And then a bike man had raped a girl living on the streets in the area. So they banned bikes from coming into the area. So now we found ourselves trekking.
Oh, the bike is the problem.
Yeah, because the bikes are now the problem. So they banned bikes. So I was telling my friends that, oh, I have to get back home early because I have a very long walk. Like I have been working for almost an hour to get to the house. I'm start dropping from the bus because I cannot take the bikes anymore. And my friend was like, okay, but like now she said it's the girl's fault. And we had such a fight about it because it happened at night. She said, oh, it's like she knows she's going to get tripped if she's walking around by 11 p.m. Why is she walking on an empty street by 11? I was like, so many things could have happened for her to find herself on the road by 11 p.m. I found myself on the road by times I would not want to be outside because of circumstances I cannot control. So like even amongst like even you think among like the younger women in the country, like they would have a different reasoning, but it's actually quite common to first of all blame the victim. Like you have to first of all prove like they did not deserve like they have to be the perfect victim. I remember when I went to the station with this my friend, it was like, oh, you went to his house, what were you wearing? We are not a virgin. Did you get wet? They asked her a question too. So it's like they have to first of all prove that she's the perfect victim for them to defend. And even with kids, they even don't defend kids because you had this 8-year-old. I wrote about it. She was 8. They started raping her when she was 8 years old, and then she died when she was 13 as a result of the years of being violently raped from both her anus and her vagina. This is a young child, and it was like they were still trying to figure out what she could have done. Like, did she shout? There were other people in the house. Was she shouting anytime it was happening? You know, all these young girls that were like, oh, maybe she's fast. Like that's term they use. Maybe she was enjoying it. She was a child. But it's like they would always find a way to put the blame on the victim, no matter what.
Well, when people mention, did you get wet or did you enjoy it? I'm reminded of a couple of things. One is Connie Chung, who is a big newscaster in the United States, or was, she might be retired now. But during Me Too, she came out and said that her doctor, when she was 21 or something, she went to the doctor and to get birth control. She was considering having sex for the first time. She wanted to get the birth control first. She didn't know what an orgasm was, but the doctor gave her an orgasm on the table by just touching her. And she was humiliated and scarred and harmed by that. You know, sometimes you enjoying it doesn't mean it's not a violation, because sometimes you have a physical response that you don't have control over. And it also, so especially I think this happens also with child molestation. Like people can get so guilty. Oh, I enjoyed it. Oh, maybe I did bring it on because I had an orgasm or because I almost had an orgasm. But that doesn't exonerate the perpetrator by any means. That doctor violated Connie Chung. She was very brave to tell us that story in public. And I also read about a scientific study where they put things in women's vagina and then they put sensors and then they showed them movies, and they had lots of kind of horrible sex acts on the movies, and the woman would get wet. And so they said, oh, these women, they want to have this terrible sex. They want to be raped. They want to, all the stuff because they're getting wet. But then someone else interpreted the same data differently and said, no, how about women get wet in order to protect their genitals in the case of rape, because it's not going to be torn or, it'll be further damaged if they're dry. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Uwanah. What were you going to say?
That's how I've always thought about it. Like that's did you get wet question. It's literally the body's way of protecting you from injury.
Yes.
Because like if you get wet, like you're going to be torn and it's going to be so it's literally the body's way of protecting you basically. So it's not an indication of arousal in any way.
Exactly.
And also, it depends on your time of the cycle, unfortunately. Like, if you are ovulating, you're more likely to get wet, even if it's rape. Like, your body's already creating, for lack of a better term, the juices to get you on, as compared to you might not get wet while you're on your period. But because the area is already raw, you might bleed more and it might hurt more and you might have more internal damage because but interestingly also, blood is a type of lubricant. It is a lubricating thing because again, our bodies are so interesting and unique. We are designed, even in shedding that lining and in being in pain, to protect the delicate inside of the cervix and the vaginal canal as the blood and all the endometrium is leaving. So if you get raped during, for some women, you can get lots of cuts and end up in irreversible damage. And for some others, the blood is protective and you end up with a little less damage because there's some slip. I think I feel like from everybody's comments so far, though, we do have this culture, don't we, of blaming the victim and creating so much shame just around coming out rather than shame around the act or the person who does the act in the first place. We're not saying rape doesn't exist, it's just it didn't happen to you. And you should feel sorry for ever
Yeah.
saying it happened.
What are you thinking,
And
And I
Muniba?
even
I just haven't heard from Muniba yet much. I wonder if you're having any thoughts on this.
Uh, yes, I was thinking about one thing that there is definition of rape. Everyone, like Uwanah said, and everyone else, that men are seeing that they are going to give you a lesson, or they are going to taught you a lesson or something like this. So one story was coming in my mind, and it was about revenge rape. And in my country, her name is Mukhtara Mai. She is very famous because of her brother. He was only 12-year old, and everyone said that he raped 12 years old, raped someone daughter. And that tribe who that 12 years old raped, that tribe come and said that he raped our women, so our men will are going to rape Mukhtara Mai in front of 100 men, in front of 100 people. She is and not with one man, 3 men. So it was revenge rape, and it was published in BBC too. But Mukhtara Mai was not silent about it. She tell this story to everyone, and she was like featured, and she have like a compensation of money, and she said that I'm going to start a school in my country, in my city where she was raped in front of 100 men, in front of everyone. And she said, I'm going to start a school for to educate women here. And she was very brave. But I was thinking that men start the fights, they kill, they rape, they cheat, they do other crimes, and society said that men being men, they can do anything. They can do anything, and but to clean up their mess, women and girl are the currency. she is like Sangeeta said that Uwanah said that marry a rapist. We are like trade. We are like currency. They raped, killed in the name of honor or peace or everything, and women are currency to this. And I don't know, this is very heartbreaking for me. And I think big thing is sex education. We don't have it. In my country, there is no sex education. There is no one know about rape. No one know about sex. No one know about anything about this. So when another story, the 18-year-old or 17-year-old boy was married to 16-year-old girl, and he inserted things inside her vagina, and because of bleeding she was virgin, and because of bleeding she died. And he said, I was watching in porn that women are enjoying these things, and and he was only 17 years old, and only said sex education he was getting from porn, which is more accessible than sex education. You can only type thing on your mobile or on your laptop, and all this porn will show up. And if so, big thing is go and educate your children, go and talk to them. The porn is like available, just like you, like this. So why not sex education? This is very important for us, I think.
Good point. Thank you for sharing that.
Sorry, can I say something about that though?
Yes.
Yes.
This is the same thing they say in my country as well. We're so close because Pakistan and India are like right there. And it's always men don't have sex education and they don't have what's it called? Access to women, and they don't really know how to act around women. But tell me this, when a woman gets so brutally violated and raped, do they not hear her screams? Do they not hear the effect they're having? When he was putting things inside this woman, his wife, and not even a woman, a child, basically, and she screams or she bleeds. Did he see that in the porn? In the movie? I don't think he did. I feel like I
And
agree.
sadly,
I agree with your point.
but
Yes,
sadly, there are porn like this too. It is called taboo
maybe,
porn.
maybe there are, maybe there are, but the big thing that I feel like we should take away is yes, if you have sex education, absolutely, it does help, but there are countries where there is sex education. Italy is one of those countries. We do have sex education here. It's not elaborate, but it exists. America has tried, I'm sure, Patsy, you can speak to this, has had at least some teaching. It's not perfect and it's not great, but it exists. The main takeaway for me is it almost feels like we're saying rapists don't know what they're doing. It's almost infantilizing the rapist as though, oh, he just didn't know. If he had sex education, if she had sex education, no one would get raped. But even where men know what sex is, and they know that there's a difference between raping someone, hurting someone, and not hurting them, they know. That's the problem. I think most of these people know, because how did you know how to rape? And oh, I learned it in porn. But in the porn, the woman makes noise and looks like she's coming, you know? And your wife is not doing that. You're hurting her. She's bleeding, and some of them bleed to death, and then you get a new wife. So when like it's like we take away that accountability. Yes, sex education is important, but we cannot say that a lack of sex education is the main culprit. It's kind of not. It's that men are very desensitized to women's pain. They are very desensitized. They don't care that it hurts you if it gets me off. That unfortunately that's what it is. If I enjoy it, and we're telling men that if you're not enjoying yourself, you can get yourself a different wife, you can marry more than one woman, you can cheat. It's okay, so long as, like, we're telling women, like, even Muniba, your first story about your family member saying, oh, you know what, if he tries to find someone else. This is a culture we've created of blaming women for bad things happening to them. And then blaming the fact that men don't know. Do they not know?
Letting them
I
off the
don't,
hook. Yeah.
pretty much, like, do they really not know?
Blaming women for men's behavior instead of holding the men accountable. Yeah, we do that a lot.
And yes, and it's even more crazy in the sense that when they want to put a ban on abortions, they don't remove rape cases. They don't exclude rape cases. You can't abort a baby, a pregnancy you had during rape. All these are just to shame women. They knew this thing. In
Absolutely.
the long run, when you had a child, when they want to tell the story to the child, they will say, oh, your mother, when she was in her prime, she was busy wiggling her waist all over. That was the way she had you. Or maybe the girl or the child is also growing up to be wayward, or the way they term it. They'll say, oh, that was the same way your mother had you. So these are the reasons. They know these things, because if they don't truly, there will be exemptions. There will be exemptions to cases like this when they put bans on abortion and all that. So I think sex education is key, but at the same time, accountability is also important. I agree with Sangita.
Me too. Me too. Um, well, that would be, I mean, abortion would be another great topic for us someday. I have a lot of thoughts on that. But it is 10 o'clock now, so I wonder if we should wrap up. Is there anything anyone else wants to add? I'm sorry we lost Uwanah, but anything you didn't get to say that you want to include here? Or are we ready to go? Okay, I just want to, did you have something, Muniba? I couldn't quite tell. Oh, here comes Uwanah. Uwanah, we're just wrapping up because it's 10, and I just asked if anyone has anything they'd like to add before we sign off. And if
So
not,
just
oh,
went off.
I'm sorry, what?
I said my network just went off and I was trying to reconnect.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry we lost you, but I'm glad you came back. I just want to let people know that we're going to be at the pub crawl on Thursday. I think it's Thursday on the 12th, which is Thursday. 11 to 12, there's a session called Feminism, Racism, and Social Justice. And I'll be there with two other medium people, Dr. Allison Wiltz and Maya Hoskins. And everyone is invited to be something like this where everyone can talk together. It's not really a lecture or anything. And then 12 to 1, I'll be in the booth, and maybe Uwanah and Muniba will also be in the fourth wave booth to talk to anyone who wants to come by. So the way you get there is Medium Pub Crawl. Oh, did I write it down? Mediumpubcrawl.com. And you should go there and register. And then you can go, it's free, and you can go to a lot of different, there are a lot of different events planned, but I'd love it if you'd come to ours. And I'm not sure who's going to host next week. Do Sangita or Dami, Lola want to host, or should it be one of us? If you're not ready, I guess after me comes Muniba, right? Is it your turn after me, Muniba?
No, I
Uwanah?
think Uwanah.
Okay. Do you have any topics in mind, Uwanah?
I do not, but I'm going to think of something.
Think about it, and we'll make an announcement on YouTube. We'll make an announcement on Fourth Wave, on Medium, and hope to see everyone next week. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
It's-
you.
It's literally my favorite thing to do, is to be here with you all. So thanks. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.
No, wait, Uwanah,
Oh.
did you have something to add? I feel like you to the discussion.
No.
No,
Okay. Do you mind if I say something very quickly?
I would love you to say something. Please.
Sorry, I know you want to wrap up. Sorry about this.
No problem.
So essentially, a few things that I wanted to add to the discussion. I feel like if anyone has had something like this happen where you're not sure whether you consented or not, or to what extent you did, reach out to healthcare providers, reach out to if you have a therapist, reach out to them. If you don't have a therapist, there are a lot of free therapists, especially in Italy, that do provide, and we have a few women's health groups. You can also go to the free clinic that we have, and someone will assist you and talk it out with you. It's important to pull it out rather than keep it in, because it took me many years and a lot of grief and a lot of, I don't even want to say bad behavior, but like a lot of erratic behavior until I finally came to terms with what happened to me. And I feel like no one needs to, or no one deserves to go through that. And also, there is no shame for you as the victim. There is shame for the person who did that to you. And don't let anybody tell you that it's your shame. You shift it to them. I think Giselle Pelico, like you mentioned, she says that in her interview and she says that in her book. So it's not your fault. And you didn't do anything to cause it. And we have a systemic issue. We don't, it's not a woman issue. It is a, for lack of a better term, it's a man issue. And finally, one more thing I wanted to put in there. Have conversations with partners. If you if you are afraid of something happening to you, it is okay to keep tabs on those kinds of things. Have conversations about their boundaries, your boundaries, in and around not just sex, but even sleeping together. What is okay? Is holding you okay? Is it not? All of those things are very important. And yeah, because, and if you decide at any point to, if you feel something, your intuition, you feel, even if you just feel tired, unnaturally or unnecessarily tired, get blood work. And because if Giselle, probably if she would have done her blood work, maybe she might have found some of the things that she was roofied with. And this does not mean that this is your fault and you didn't find it or something like that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is sometimes certain drugs will come up in your blood work. So try every year, every other year. I know this is a very privileged position to say do it every year, but try as much as you can whenever you feel not good in your body to go to the doctor immediately. And basically, you'll have to force them to take you seriously, unfortunately. And if you go through rape and you know it's rape, do not shower. Do not touch your body in any other way. You have to go and immediately do a rape kit. Unfortunately, I know how terrible it feels, and you just want to, scrub all of it off you. You don't want to feel like that happened to you, but you have to get a rape kit. And unfortunately, if you wait, even if you wait a day, 24 hours, sometimes is enough for, I don't even know how to say this, the evidence to no longer be applicable. And you have to ensure that they are going to test your rape kit within the 72-hour period. Because if they don't, again, evidence gets destroyed. this is a lot of information, but sperm dies outside of the body within 72 hours. So if that is going to be your way of proving, it's gone. But inside your body, it can last for at least a week, from what I understand. So don't shower. At the minute water touches any of your parts, it's gone. Evidence is gone. And
Don't
again,
change clothes too.
yes,
Like,
don't change any of your clothes. Don't wash your clothes. Keep the
yes.
clothes as evidence. And anything that you did, Google Timeline is a really great way. If you have Google Timeline, keep track of where you were and stuff like that. I'm sorry, I'm just giving so much
That's wonderful.
precautionary information, but I feel like no one, even I haven't written about this, unfortunately, because it's such a difficult topic, I guess, for women to talk about, right? But yeah, and I feel like I'm missing something else. Don't wash your clothes, don't wash your body, rape kit, and make sure that they will check the rape kit. Bring someone with you. Unfortunately, it's always better to go to the police station with a man, because in my country there have been women who have tried to report their rape and then gotten raped by a cop. So go with someone you trust, and it's sometimes people you trust are people you shouldn't trust, and you might realize this is because of what happened. And again, that's also not your fault. So I think for me that's it. And again, I'm so sorry I took your time. I just
I want
I,
to add something.
mhm.
Sangeeta, I have an idea. Why don't you write story on this to grandma articles?
Oh,
It
yeah.
is very, very, very like this information to be on the list of every woman, every kid, every teenage girl too.
We'd love to have that. We have something on Fourth Wave called Grandma Gertie's Guide for Girls, and it's stories with information for young women. And if you would write one about that, that'd be fabulous. We'd love to have it. And I'm so glad you added all that. That was very important to add at the end here. Thank you for doing that. And thank you all for being here. And we'll see you next week, I hope. And I'll see you maybe before then at the pub crawl. Okay? Have a lovely rest of your day.
thank you.